So maybe Hitler was right all along. Metaethics is the study of how we come to know whether things are right or wrong, if you like, the thinking that lies behind it. And a lot of prominent philosophers has tried to look at that and tried to find some sort of solution to how we know whether things are right or wrong. The 20th century was dominated by a movement that stemmed from something called Positivism, the idea that we should be able to say things are true because we can prove them in some sort of sense. And what philosophers mean by that is that we can look at the ideas synthetically, piecing together the different ideas and coming to some sort of solution. That's the way science works, of course, or analytically by unpacking the concept, like for example in mathematics. And one of the great philosophers of the 20th century who looked at that was a man called A N Whitehead, Freddie Whitehead, who wrote Language, Truth and Logic in 1936, in which he unpacked that and in which he looked at the ways in which language works to show things as being true. Now the problem, says Whitehead, is that that doesn't work with morals. So if I was to say, for example, that maybe Hitler was right, what I'm expressing is not a statement of truth or fact, but what I'm expressing is an emotional statement, a statement, if you like, that's based on our culture, our understanding, our ability to unpack something because we happen to feel it. It's nothing to do with whether it's true or not. And so this meta-ethical concept is often known as emotivism, the idea that we think things are true because emotionally we engage with them. They're not right or wrong in the way that science is right or wrong, or in the way that maths is right or wrong. And here's the problem. When you look at social media, when you watch the telly, when you read magazines, you will often come across people saying things are morally the case. They may talk about climate change, they may talk about racism, they may talk about immigration, they may talk about all sorts of things, and the morals are stated as true. As I'm giving this talk, there are, for example, climate protesters who will glue themselves to various bits of motorways and they will state that their beliefs are almost morally self-evident. But no, says Whitehead, that's not the case. It's not to say that you and I don't agree with one another morally, but what of course we're doing is we're expressing a common cultural understanding or a common social understanding, something that you and I share. But it's not a statement of fact. It's a statement that is, in philosophical terms, a meaningless one. Because what we're expressing is, let's be blunt with one another, our emotional opinion. And of course that would explain, would it not, why, for example, some cultures have very different moral views to another, because presumably they share a different cultural worldview to ours. And the result is that what you think is true and what I think is true is not verifiable, to use Whitehead's word. Classically, he says, any proposition that we make about something, if it doesn't have a definitive answer, then it's not verifiable. So in science, for example, we could do an experiment and we could verify whether something's right and that could tell us whether it's true. That's not the case in morals, because actually you may come up with one answer and another answer and both might be equally valid on different occasions. So that's not verifiable. It's an emotional response. Now, what Whitehead's saying is great. Yeah, okay, so morals are just our opinion. But of course there's a problem there, because I started off by saying, well, maybe Hitler was right. Maybe child molesters are right. Maybe racism's okay. And clearly we don't think those things. So there has to be some sort of way of tackling this. And what I'll do in next week's talk is I'll look at one of the most common ways of tackling this and try and unpack how you may actually move this forward. But for now, are morals just an opinion? Hope you liked the video. Click on like if you did. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Look after yourself. Take care. See you next week.